You did everything right. You watered it, you fed it, you gave it the perfect spot with morning sun and afternoon shade, and right now, in the middle of June, your hydrangea is a big green bush covered in leaves, beautiful foliage. Full, healthy, lush, zero flowers. Your neighbor's hydrangea is blooming. The one at the garden center is blooming. Yours is just sitting there doing absolutely nothing, and you cannot figure out why. But nothing is wrong with your plant. You broke it. You cut something off it last fall that was not a dead branch. It was this summer's flowers. And you had no way of knowing because every pruning video on the internet gives you the same generic advice that only works for one of three hydrangea types. The wrong rule applied to the wrong type kills the bloom for an entire year. One cut, 12 months of nothing. Here is the part that matters right now. This week, before the first week of July, there is a 5-minute fix that saves next summer's flowers. After that first week of July, the window closes, the buds set, and whatever you did or did not do in June is locked in until next June. 12 more months of staring at leaves. So stay with me because the fix itself is simple, but you need to understand which hydrangea you actually have before the fix means anything. And I need to show you a cause of no blooms that has nothing to do with pruning, one that most gardeners never consider because the plant looks perfectly healthy when it happens. I have been growing hydrangeas for over 30 years. I have 3 types in my own garden right now, and I have killed the bloom on every single one of them at least once by doing exactly what you probably did. A friend of mine down the road called me 2 summers ago, frustrated because her hydrangea had not bloomed in 3 years. 3 years of green leaves and nothing else. It took me 10 seconds standing in her yard to see what happened, and another 5 minutes to fix it. She had flowers the following June. What I told her that afternoon is everything I am about to tell you now. If you are finding this useful, I would appreciate it if you passed it along to someone whose hydrangea is doing the same thing right now. That link might save them a whole year of wondering what went wrong. This is where every hydrangea owner goes wrong. You go online, you search how to prune hydrangea, and you get one answer, one set of instructions, but that one answer only works for one of 3 completely different plants that all share the same name. And if you apply the right rule to the wrong plant, you get exactly what you have right now, a healthy bush with no flowers. So let me walk you through the 3 types quickly because you can identify yours in about 10 seconds, and once you know which one you have, everything else falls into place. The first type is Bigleaf Hydrangea, Hydrangea macrophylla. This is the most common hydrangea in American gardens by a wide margin. Big round mophead flower clusters, sometimes 8 to 10 inches across, or flat lace-cap flowers that look like a ring of petals around a center of tiny buds. Blue, pink, or purple depending on your soil pH. The plant itself typically grows 4 to 6 feet tall and about the same wide, with thick, dark green leaves that feel almost leathery. If your hydrangea produces round ball-shaped flower heads in shades of blue or pink, this is almost certainly what you have. And here is the critical detail about bigleaf hydrangeas that changes everything about how you care for them. This type blooms on old wood, last year's stems. The flower buds for next summer are forming right now in June on the tips of branches that grew this spring. Those buds will sit there through the rest of summer, through fall, through the entire winter, dormant, waiting. And when spring arrives next year, those buds open into flowers. Cut those branches during fall cleanup and you cut the buds off. No buds, no flowers next June. This is the type that the vast majority of gardeners accidentally destroy every year. And there is a second cause of failure with this type that I need to explain in a moment, because it is the one that even careful pruners miss entirely. But first, the other 2 types, because if you have either of these, you can stop worrying right now. The second type is Panicle hydrangea. Hydrangea paniculata. Limelight is the one everyone knows, the variety that put this entire species on the map. Little lime, vanilla strawberry, pinky winky, bobo. You can identify these instantly because the flower clusters are cone-shaped, not round. They come to a point at the top, sometimes 8 to 12 inches long, and they often start white or lime green in midsummer and gradually age to pink or strawberry red by fall. These bloom on new wood, meaning this year's fresh growth. You can cut a panicle hydrangea to the ground in late winter to about 12 inches of stubby stems, and it will bloom the following summer on whatever grows after the cut. They grow in zones 3 through 8. They handle full sun better than any other hydrangea, and they are genuinely difficult to kill. If your hydrangea has cone-shaped flowers, you cannot accidentally remove the blooms by pruning. If this is what you have, breathe easy. The third type is smooth hydrangea. Hydrangea arborescens. Annabelle is the famous one. Incredible is the improved version with stronger stems that hold up in rain instead of flopping to the ground. Big white snowball clusters, sometimes the size of a dinner plate, on a plant that grows 3 to 5 feet tall and spreads about the same. Like panicle hydrangeas, smooth hydrangeas bloom on new wood. You can cut them to 12 inches in late winter. They regrow and bloom every year without fail, zones 3 through 9 in full sun to part shade. These are the easiest hydrangeas in existence. If you have Annabelle or anything that looks like Annabelle, you do not have a blooming problem. You have a different hydrangea than the one causing trouble. If your hydrangea has round mophead or lace-cap flowers and it is not blooming right now, stay right here, because what I am about to explain is exactly why yours stopped producing flowers, and the fix has a deadline that is days away. That was the identification step. Takes 10 seconds once you know what to look for. Round balls or flat lace caps, that is bigleaf. Cones, that is panicle. White snowballs on a shorter plant, that is smooth. 2 of those 3 are bulletproof. The third is the one filling garden forums with frustrated questions every June. And if you have that third one, the bigleaf, here is what went wrong. The diagnosis comes down to one of 2 causes, and both of them are specific to bigleaf hydrangeas. The first cause is the one you have probably already guessed. You pruned after July last year, maybe during fall cleanup in October, maybe in early spring when you were cutting back everything else in the garden. You saw long stems, maybe some dried flower heads still hanging on, and you cut them back to tidy things up. Completely reasonable. Every other shrub in your yard benefits from that kind of cleanup. But when you cut those big leaf stems, you removed the dormant flower buds that had already formed at the tips. They were invisible. They looked like any other bud on any other branch. And you cut them off. One afternoon of tidying 12 months of no flowers, I did this myself in my 3rd year of growing hydrangeas. I had a beautiful big leaf that bloomed its first 2 summers. Third fall, I cleaned up the garden the way I cleaned up everything else. Cut back, shaped, tidied. The following June, that plant was the greenest, leafiest, most vigorous bush in my yard. Not a single flower on it. I was convinced the plant was sick. It was not sick. I had cut every bud off it the previous October and did not know it. The second cause is the one most people miss entirely: winter bud kill. And this is where the diagnosis gets painful, because you can prune a big leaf hydrangea perfectly, leave every bud intact, do everything right, and still get no blooms the following summer. Here is what happens. A hard late frost in April, sometimes even early May, kills the flower buds while leaving the leaf buds completely untouched. The plant leaves out beautifully in spring. Looks completely healthy, full green foliage, strong stems, vigorous growth, 0 flowers. And you stand there in June staring at it, thinking something is wrong with the plant. Nothing is wrong with the plant. 2 different structures sit on the same branch, flower buds and vegetative buds, and they have 2 different cold tolerances. The flower buds are more vulnerable. They freeze and die at temperatures the leaf buds survive without damage. The plant looks fine. It just does not bloom. This is why big leaf hydrangeas in zones 4 and 5 have so much trouble. The plant itself is hardy enough to survive the winter. The flower buds are not. They freeze in a deep cold snap in January, or they start to swell during a warm spell in March and then get killed when a frost rolls back in during April. Either way, the result is the same. A beautiful green bush in June with nothing on it. And because the plant looks healthy, you blame yourself. You think you did something wrong. You did not. The weather did it, and the plant gave you no visible sign. I had this happen in my own garden 4 years ago. My big leaf bloomed perfectly for 3 straight summers. The fourth year, we had a late hard frost on the 12th of April. Every flower bud on that plant was dead. The leaves came in like nothing happened. I did not have a single bloom that entire summer, and I had not touched the plant with pruning shears in 2 years. I knew exactly what happened because I had seen it before in a neighbor's garden. But if I had not known to look for it, I would have been just as confused as everyone else. So those are your two causes. Wrong time pruning, which you control, and winter bud kill, which you cannot control but can protect against. I will get to the protection in a few minutes. First, the fix that has to happen right now. Now, the 5-minute fix. This is the entire reason this video exists, and it has to happen before the first week of July. Right now, your bigleaf hydrangea is either blooming or finishing its bloom. If it is blooming, wait until the flowers start to fade and turn papery, not brown, not dead, just past their peak, starting to look tired, losing their saturated color. That moment is your window. And if your bigleaf did not bloom this year because of bad pruning or winter bud kill, you still do this exact same thing with the stems that would have had flowers on them. Here is what you do. Take a pair of sharp bypass shears, not anvil pruners that crush the stem, and go to each spent flower head. Follow the stem down from the old flower. You will see the first set of fat, healthy buds sitting on the stem just below where the flower was. Those fat buds are next summer's flowers. They are already forming right now, in June. They are small but visible, plump, sitting in the leaf joints where the leaves meet the stem. On a healthy stem, you will usually find them 4 to 6 inches below the old flower head, cut just above them. A clean cut, angled slightly so water runs off, just above the first set of fat buds below the spent flower. That is it. Do not cut lower. Do not reshape the bush. Do not thin it out. Do not go after branches that look too long or too leggy. And do not remove any branch that did not flower this year, because those non-flowering branches may have buds forming at the tips for next June. You do not know which stems are carrying next year's blooms and which are not. So if a stem is alive, green, and flexible, it stays. The only branches you remove entirely are dead wood. Grey, brittle, snaps clean when you bend it. Everything alive stays. Everything. 5 minutes with sharp shears. Cut the spent flowers. Leave the fat buds. Walk away. Look, this is the part where timing is everything. By early July, the new buds are sealed. By August, they are dormant. By September, they are locked in for winter. By October, if you prune during fall cleanup the way you have been doing every single year, you cut off June's flowers again. Another 12 months of leaves and no blooms because of 5 minutes at the wrong time. The rule for bigleaf hydrangeas is simple once you know it. The only time you touch this plant with shears is right now, late June, early July. You deadhead the spent flowers, you leave the new buds, and you do not pick up your shears again for this plant until the same time next year. No fall pruning, no spring pruning, no shaping in August because it looks unruly, nothing in between. The plant may look a little wild by March. Let it. That wildness is covered in buds. Since you are already crouched at the base of your hydrangea with your shears, this is the moment to handle something else. Flower color for next summer. And this only applies to bigleaf hydrangeas. Panicle and smooth hydrangeas do not respond to soil chemistry this way. Blue flowers come from acidic soil where aluminum is available to the roots. Pink flowers come from alkaline soil where aluminium gets locked up and the plant cannot access it. If your bigleaf has been drifting from blue toward pink over the last few years, or if it is blooming a muddy purple that is not quite either color, the soil pH has shifted. This happens gradually, especially if you mulch with hardwood bark or your irrigation water is alkaline. To push toward blue, work aluminum sulfate into the soil around the drip line right now. 1 tablespoon per gallon of water, applied once a month through August. 3 applications total. The drip line is the circle on the ground directly below the outermost reach of the branches, where rain drips off the leaves. That is where the feeder roots are. To push toward pink from a blue plant, apply garden lime the same way. 1 application now, 1 in July, 1 in August. This will not change the flowers already blooming. Their color was determined months ago by the soil chemistry that existed when they were forming. You are adjusting the soil for next June's blooms. 1 extra minute while you are already at the base of the plant. The color you want next summer starts with what you do to the soil this month. Now I want to address something that saves years of frustration. If you bought your hydrangea in the last 5 to 10 years, check the tag or look up the variety name. There is a category of big leaf hydrangea bred specifically to solve the problem I have been describing this entire time. Endless summer, blooms struck. Twist and a shout. Let's Dance series. These are reblooming big leaf varieties and they were bred to bloom on both old wood and new wood. This means that even if you pruned wrong and killed all the old wood buds, even if a late frost wipes them out, these varieties produce a second flush of flowers on the new stems that grow this summer. They compensate for the mistake. They compensate for the weather. The old wood blooms appear in June as usual, and then a second wave forms on the current season's growth and opens in late summer. If you have been battling a non-blooming big leaf hydrangea for 3, 4, 5 years and you are tired of the annual disappointment, replacing it with a reblooming variety in the same spot eliminates the pruning timing problem almost entirely. Endless Summer is reliable in zones 4 through 9 and widely available. Bloomstruck produces the richest color I have seen on any hydrangea: deep saturated blue in acid soil, vivid rose pink in alkaline. Both grow 4 to 5 feet tall and wide. Both handle morning sun with afternoon shade, and both bloom on new and old wood. Your fall cleanup mistake that killed the blooms on your old hydrangea would not even register on these. My neighbor replaced her non-blooming big leaf with an endless summer 3 years ago. She has had flowers every single summer since. She still prunes at the wrong time every fall. Does not matter. The new wood blooms cover for it. If you have been fighting this for years and you are done, a reblooming variety in the same hole, same soil, same light, same spot gives you flowers even when you make every mistake on the list. That is a practical decision that ends a frustrating cycle. But if you are in zones 4 or 5, where late frosts kill big leaf buds even when you prune correctly, even on reblooming varieties, there is one more piece to this, and it takes about 20 minutes in November. After the leaves drop in late fall, build a burlap cage around your big leaf hydrangea. 4 wooden stakes driven into the ground around the plant, about 6 inches out from the branch tips. Wrap burlap around the stakes to form a cylinder. Fill the inside loosely with dried leaves. Oak leaves work well because they do not mat down and they allow air to circulate. The burlap and leaves insulate the bud tips through winter and, more importantly, they stop the freeze-thaw cycle that kills exposed buds. That cycle, where temperatures swing above freezing during the day and plunge below freezing at night, is what tricks buds into swelling early and then kills them when the cold returns. The burlap cage keeps temperatures more stable around the stems, preventing that premature swelling. Remove the cage in late March, once the hard freeze risk has passed for your area. The buds survive. The plant blooms. I know a woman 2 streets over who gardens in Zone 5. Heavy clay soil, brutal winters. She lost big leaf blooms for 4 consecutive summers before she started using the burlap cage. She has had blooms every summer since. Same plant, same location, same winters. The only difference is 20 minutes of protection in November. Now, that cage takes care of the problem that pruning alone cannot solve. If you're in a cold zone, the 5-minute summer fix protects next year's buds from your own shears. The 20-minute November cage protects them from the weather. Between those two things, the big leaf hydrangea that has been sitting there producing nothing but leaves finally has a chance. That is the whole picture. 3 types of hydrangea, only one of them, the big leaf, has the blooming problem. And the cause is almost always the same. 5 minutes of pruning at the wrong time, repeated every year because nobody told you there were 3 different plants hiding behind one name. Or a late frost that kills the flower buds while leaving the plant looking perfectly healthy, so you never even know what happened. The fix is 5 minutes right now. Cut the spent flowers, leave the fat buds sitting just below them on the stem. Do not touch anything else until next June. If your blue has drifted pink, adjust the soil while you are down there. If you are tired of the fight, a reblooming variety ends it. If you are in a cold zone, 20 minutes with burlap in November protects the buds that 5 minutes of summer deadheading just saved. You are not a bad gardener. You just had the wrong pruning calendar for the wrong hydrangea. The plant was never broken. It was doing exactly what a bigleaf hydrangea does when someone removes its buds. It grew leaves, it waited, and it will bloom again next June if you give it 5 minutes today. Which type do you have? Tell me in the comments. And if you've been staring at a green bush with no flowers, tell me how many years. That number tells the whole story. 1 year means you pruned wrong once and a simple correction fixes it. 2 years means you repeated the same full cleanup and did not realize it. 3 or more years means you may have the wrong variety for your zone, or you have winter bud kill that no amount of correct pruning can solve on its own, and that is a conversation worth having. Go out this evening, find the spent flowers, find the fat buds below them, make the cut. 5 minutes. That is where next summer's blooms begin. I will see you next week. There is more I want to show you.